philosophies and values. What we want to do now is kind of take it as a historical piece, and how do we apply it based on what your experience was today? How do we apply it to the work that we're doing now? And so, what were some of the key takeaways? What was the impact that it had on you all? And how do you want to take that experience and create new experience for the next generation who looks back and says, Get Equal, these folks, these activists, stood tall, stood strong, and created change, and made me an equal citizen today, in 25 years. So we can go ahead and
25 years.
the next generation looks back at the work that we're doing now. Okay. So who has some thoughts? Who wants to kind of share a little bit? We have 20 minutes or so. Tim.
In the civilian aspects of the exhibit, Group 2 didn't experience this, but I think Group 1 did, where the narrator literally had them sit at the table.
Oh wow!
And literally bombard them with assaults, verbal assaults and stuff. And so if somebody could.
I'm so jealous right now.
So jealous.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, who was in the group that group that wanted to? Awesome. Jimmy.
What?
You said you had your hand up. You want to talk about it?
Oh no, I thought you just said you was in that good.
He wants to talk about it. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't understand the question, so I don't really know what's going on. And maybe if we clarify exactly what we're supposed to be answering.
Okay. The question is really about how did the experience from the museum impact you, and how do you want to take what you experienced today and apply it to your organizing for in 25 years looking back. The people who are experiencing, hopefully, equality at that point have that same kind of impression that we had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that clear? Okay. Cool.
I'm happy to.
All right. Ryan.
When you go to the museum, a lot of the writing certainly touches your heart and your soul because you've taken the time to read it and what have it. But certainly the most important part of the museum is the imagery that goes along with the story. Robin was talking earlier about creating iconic imagery for this generation. And Get Equal certainly does some of that with its excellent use of branding. And I think that that's really what we need to do. We need to be able to tell the story of inequality in a photo. And we need to put that photo everywhere so that people are confronted with the reality of inequality without having to hear anything, read a book, or care about it. They just need that iconic imagery that explains it for them. And I think that that's what we should try and create with our actions, however we can do that.
AJ?
So kind of in line with that, with the second group, the very first thing that we did when we walked in, we saw the line talking about Dr. King's funeral procession and about how his casket was placed in a wagon for the procession. And that detail and the concept that Dr. King used every detail of not only his life, but also his death to point back and to shine a spotlight on the oppression. And in creating that imagery, not just creating just photographs and images, but realizing the symbolism and making things have that depth, so that we can have that impact not only as it's happening, but as we look back. And this was the connection that we made, and this is why we did it, and this is why it's important that we did it the way we did.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I agree. I think that goes to the layers, right, of all that we're trying to achieve, and how do we say that in those moments. Richard.
For me, I think my experience was want to see kind of the hope and faith and trust that I had in people, as harsh and cruel as some of us can be. I think the biggest thing that impacts me the most is actually the last sentence of the letter from the city jail in Birmingham. He says, "Let us all hope that the dark clouds of racial prejudice will soon pass away, and the deep fog of misunderstanding will be lifted from our fear-drenched communities, and in some not too distant tomorrow, the radiant stars of love and brotherhood will shine over our great nation with all of their scintillating beauty. Yours for the cause of peace and brotherhood, Michael." And I feel like that is you know, there's a tomorrow, and you know, do all I can do today in the hope that tomorrow will be a clearer day. Tomorrow might be like foggy as hell and thunderstorms, but I'll keep going on until I can find that clarity and not like what's that.
Yeah, it goes to vision, right? It's that vision. It's knowing that beyond anything that happens, you're going to get to that end goal. Okay, I don't know everybody's names.
Zach.
Zach?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like in being there, and all of y'all saw, like a lot of that stuff took place in Mississippi, and with that being my home state, even as big as the civil rights movement was, like a lot of that is still going on in Mississippi now. I mean, like right now, there's the national headline case of the 18-year-old white kid from the Jackson area that ran over the black man and killed him, just out of pure hate for black people. And like, those are the kind of things that I encounter on a daily basis. Like, racism is very much still alive and well, and hate is very much alive and well in Mississippi. And just being able to experience and see how much some of those people risk to do what they're doing, and like it showed me that you have to have like this fearless attitude. Like, those things can get really, really bad, but the only way that the movement was able to occur was because of the fearless attitude of the people that were in it. And like, no matter really, you have to do things that make you uncomfortable. You have to do things that are scary to accomplish what we're trying to do. And so like, I want to just like take this fearless attitude that some of those people have and take back to one of the scariest places in the country.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very cool. Awesome. Sean, come to you next. Yeah. Say your name before you start, just so we can all kind of get to know who each other is.
Okay, I'm Louis, or whoever's comfortable for you. PA. My experience was all powerful images that were shown in the museum, and it reminds me that, you know, image can be a powerful thing. You know, a picture can say more than 1,000 words. And one of the things that I can take back from this experience, you know, we're putting a face to the issue, and when politicians see that it's a person that this is affecting, not just something else, they'll see that face and they'll see, hey, this is a human being, this is affecting, this is our brother, this is our sister, this is our mother, this is our neighbor, and things like that. So putting that face to the issue can help us a lot in our movement.
And to that, for me, when we were on the bus and looking at the Rosa Parks and hearing the words and knowing, we've all been on a city bus, I'd imagine, and knowing what that experience is like today. And you just don't think twice about it. And then go into the Lexington encounters and seeing the video run and being reminded that that's very real and it's very recent. And the impact that that had and the urgency for change then is very similar to the urgency for change for us now. So, Sean.
Well, that's what I was going to touch on there. When I saw the exhibit on Rosa Parks, and then when I saw the exhibit on the Woolworths counter, the movement's ability to create flashpoints around those two events and make them huge. I mean, they were well thought out, they were well planned, they were prepared for, they weren't fly by the seat of your pants, oh, this is going on over here, let's throw this action together. I mean, to hear the training that they went through to create those crisis moments in history that sparked those huge movements, the bus boycotting, and then when he said that, you know, initially 4 students went in and they sat down, and the next day 10 students came in, and then 20 students came in, and that sparked movements in other cities, and they were going in and they were sitting at the lunch counters, like, and not only, but, and they were also able to engage allies that came in as well. Like, I thought that that was huge when he demonstrated. You see a white woman, a white man, a black man, and a black woman, and they're sitting in solidarity together for the same movement, and they're creating this crisis point for social change. Like, that's what spoke to me the biggest. Like, just the need for that solidarity and he was talking about just being relentless. Like, you know, it's one thing to go and do an action one day and then lose momentum.
Right.
You know, we have to. I feel like we have to just keep hammering away at it and continuing to grow and get bigger and suck more people into these flashpoints or these crisis points that we create.
Right. Exactly. We have like 2 minutes left. So, Tiffany.
Well, one of the things that I noticed is when they did their actions, they were talking about 8 days in jail, 16 days, 45 days. And thus far, us as a movement has not been willing to risk that. And I think that, you know, it says a lot. It's one thing to go to court and pay a fine, but it makes such a huge impact, and it was very obvious, you know, just like it mentioned that they let him, when he was sentenced to 45 days, they let him out extremely early because they were afraid the movement would keep building momentum behind that because he was willing to make that sacrifice. And I think if we collectively were willing to kind of, you know, take those, you know, make those sacrifices and kind of put ourselves out there and just like he was saying, make ourselves, you know, deal with uncomfortable situations or situations we don't necessarily want to be in, but that will be really impactful and affect change, but also very well thought out and create our own platforms, just like he was saying.
Exactly. Okay, so one more, and then I've got to kind of turn it on over. Daniel.
One of the things that stood out to me, and I know too, a few other activists in my group, was the issue of focus and the way that these actions were focused. And it was really kind of summed up in MLK's own words when he was talking about the assassination of President Kennedy. He said, "I'm less concerned about who killed the president than what killed the president." And if you know, if you look at the actions they did, it was never focused on pinpointing or targeting an individual. It was always targeting the what. And it really struck me. It's like, you know, we could spend the rest of our lives knocking bigots off the end of a conveyor belt, and if we do nothing to shut down the machine that's going to keep producing them, then our work is really all in vain. So it was just really interesting that everything that they did was about the what and not the who. So.
Great. Okay. All right, guys, thank you. Thank you. So remember, take this with us through this training this weekend, because we're going to start talking about strategy and tactics and planning and media and all the pieces that kind of go to organizing. And these experiences will inform a lot of what we work on this weekend. So right now we're going to hand out the agenda and a packet of lots of good information to everyone. Keep it for the weekend. Put your name on it. Thank you. We do not have extra copies, guys, so please hang